All right. Great day, everybody. Welcome to another incredible episode of Seeds of Abundance. As always, I'm Matthew Britt coming at you from Ottawa, Canada. Very excited about this conversation today. A gentleman, I read his book, it's got to be 22 years ago now. Completely blew my mind, changed the way I thought about healing myself and the foods that I consumed and the things that I put into my body. But first, we'll say a quick hello to my partner, good friend, Mr. Jim Gale. How are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. I am also very excited about this show. I read Dr. Young's books again about 20 years ago. Wow, it's amazing how much influence that you've had, Dr. Young. So yeah, I'm so thankful that you're on the show today, and for the decades of work that you've been doing to bring solutions to the masses. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get into this work.
Well, having been an amateur and professional athlete, athletes are, just wired to find, an edge in order to improve their level of energy, their level of fitness, their level of performance, because the difference between the greatest and not being the greatest, but I mean being one of the greats, is very small line. And it comes down to the small things that you do. And I was in the 60s, I was introduced to encapsulated nutrition, which was really weird in the 60s. I mean, what do you mean? What is this? Well, it's concentrated food. I said, take this. That's what my coaches are saying. Take this, it'll help you. I said, okay, whatever you say. I mean, what's in it? And they'd spat off vitamins and minerals and et cetera, et cetera. And so that really stuck with me. These synergistic formulations that were being put together that I was popping, and it seemed like Space Odyssey 2000. And, they pushed the button on food and up came a little capsule and you swallowed that and that was dinner. I don't know if you remember that scene or not, but, I it's amazing what you see in the movies in years past is you actually see in the future and you think back on those times. But I've been interested in health and nutrition and fitness for all my life and I was wired as a child, when people would ask me, what do you want to be, little Robert? And I would say, I want to be a doctor. I just didn't know what kind of doctor that meant. But some of my best friends are doctors and have encouraged me to go in that direction. And I really didn't do that. I stayed in amateur and then professional sports until I got bored and retired from that at the age of 29 and really asking the question, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
I know Nadal is asking that same question.
Yeah.
He's thinking about retirement right now. After losing in a doubles match, he's had a great career. I mean,
Yeah.
wow. But that's what it is. You come to a point where you can go to the right and go to the left, and I chose the right, and where it led me was my passion, and my passion was biology, was science, and was nutrition, and that's the path that I went down, thinking that not only could I help myself and my family, but I could probably make enough little money in order to do some projects I wanted to do around the house. That was the idea. But I got bored after a year or so in retirement, and so I went back to school. I started studying, and the rest is history. As far as writing books, I mean, we look back. You mentioned Matthew that you read my book like 22 years ago. That wasn't my first book. My first book was One Sickness, One Disease, One Treatment. And I wrote that in the 80s. Everybody thought I was a weirdo. Like, really? One sickness, one disease? What is that, an oversimplification? And it really wasn't. And I haven't come off that thought. In fact, what I'm telling people now is you're not sick. You're not sick. You've been poisoned. Yeah. Okay. And so, you know, if I might just take a moment and recognize one of my heroes, Nobel laureate Kary Mullis. Yeah. You know, and it's really important that we do this. But he was taken out 5 years ago in August of 2019. I mean, does that date sound suspicious at all to you?
It sure
August
does.
2000. August 2000. And the reason I say that is because Kary received the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his invention of the polymerase chain, or what is called reaction PCR test. And I just want to tell you, when he was asked about PCR testing, okay, this was prior to August 7th, he said this: the PCR test is not a diagnostic tool and was invented for detailed study of DNA samples. Consequently, it cannot be used to diagnose infectious disease, period. This is the Nobel laureate, received the Nobel Prize for his invention, saying out loud, this is not for diagnostic purposes. The whole PCR thing and PCR testing for the identification of a so-called phantom virus, which was never been purified or isolated. And so, what did he die from? August 7th. Pneumonia? Really?
Right.
Pneumonia? People don't understand that pneumonia is not a disease. Pneumonia is caused by systemic poisoning, chemical or radioactive poisoning, and it shows up as a yeast infection of the lung. It's so easily treated. Why would you ever take a flu shot? Flu is not a disease. Flu is a symptom of chemical and radiation poisoning from what you eat, what you drink. And so this one sickness and one disease book and this one treatment that I wrote in the 80s, and since that I've written over 100 books. Just this last year I've published over 6 books, and I've published thousands of papers, many of them peer reviewed. One is on Masterpiece, by the way. Okay. And that's important because that's a solution to the pollutions. But if I was to say anything to anyone about all this, as far as Kary Mullis is who would you trust more? Would you entrust the inventor, the Nobel Prize laureate, that the PCR test is a fraud? And now in a court case, the FDA is admitting, and they're trying to get this court case dismissed.
Of course they are.
That this whole thing has been a fraud. Yeah. But that's okay because it was approved by Congress. Yeah. They knew all of this beforehand, and they've admitted to it. They just want to dismiss the case because they were legally, they're legally in a position where they've done no wrong, even though they admit to the wrong they did. They cannot be challenged on that. So anyway, my prayers go out to the Mullis family and this great loss of a humanitarian, of a human being, that deserves credit and deserves to be listened to now. But it throws everything that we've ever been taught, especially what we've experienced in the last 4.5 years.
Yeah. I've sent that video to multiple people. That was one of the ones that just had my jaw open saying, wow. I mean, how powerful is that? If anybody hasn't seen that video, you can go on the Freedom Network channels and you can find it, but it's probably been scrubbed from all the mainstream media channels. It's probably been scrubbed from YouTube and Facebook and all those.
Well, thanks for starting with that and recognizing him as a mentor and hero of yours, because what he did create there was obviously very important and transformational for the world, and the truth that he was speaking about its uses, and also about a man named Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's had some interesting comments about him, this evil gentleman who's done a number of things to manipulate the population into believing things that are not true about their health and treatments for them and whatnot. So I really appreciate you talking about Kerry Mullis there and what he's done for the world.
Well, another great scientist that a lot of people don't know is Dr. Peter Duesberg at the University of Berkeley, who wrote the book Inventing the AIDS Virus. Oh my heavens! Did you hear what I said?
Yep.
Inventing the AIDS Virus. You know when he wrote that book?
When?
It was published in 1985.
Wow.
You know what else is in that book? Inventing the hepatitis virus, inventing the Ebola virus, and the list goes on and on. These are all inventions of men, bad men. Yeah. And you know what happened? You know what happened for publishing that book? You know what happened to Peter Duesberg?
No, what?
He lost his funding.
Yeah, of course.
He was doing incredible work, which was based upon HIV, AIDS, or AIDS acquired immune deficiency, which at the death, I don't know if you know this or not, but a friend of mine, Luc Montagnier, who was another Nobel Prize winner, Luc, you know what he said before he died? At the age of 90, I think 6? He said VAIDS, not AIDS. Vaccine acquired immune deficiency.
Yep.
Vaccines are the poison, and the injections of the poisons that are causing the symptomology associated with a phantom virus, which doesn't even exist. And I took this project on February. I flew in from Spain in March of 2020. I flew in March, on March 15. They closed down the border. I haven't left this country since.
Wow.
For other reasons. But in 2021, I started working on finding out, because when we saw the information sheet, the disclosure sheets for these inoculations, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, the question came up in the mind, how can they authorize the use of something that we don't even know what it is?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I started working on that, finished up the work in June, July of 2021, and it took me over a year to publish it. It was published in 2022 of July, a year later. That's how long. But the seminal work that I published was published in February, March. It just went on until it's got like 19 different revisions. And millions of people have seen this paper. But it's entitled Scanning and Transmission Electron Microscopy in the Identification of the Non-Disclosed Ingredients in the Vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines. Whoa.
Yep.
Okay, so that went out. And what was common amongst all of them, well, at least Pfizer and Moderna, was common amongst all of them, one ingredient: a cytotoxic, genotoxic, electromagnetic toxic material called graphene.
Yeah.
It's formed graphene oxide as the base or the cargo that was being delivered by a polyethylene glycol hydrogel. What was inside that was a toxic material. In combination with some of these vaccines were trypanosome with parasite eggs. So that was published in July. I'm happy to provide every one of your listeners a copy of this paper for free. Yeah. I mean, you can go to ResearchGate and find it, or Google Scholar and find this.
Yeah. And then when we find out who owns the patents, which is basically governments own the patents for these, and Pfizer and Moderna, they were the marketing arms and they were kind of a part of the distribution chain. But the patents are actually government patents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
this was a DARPA DoD project. Yes, absolutely.
I read that they're being sued for defrauding the government, and in their testimony, they say that we didn't defraud the government; we provided them exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so just after that, of course, I was arrested by bringing this work forward. So bad things happen to good people because bad people are in control of our planet.
Yeah.
And so this was just it's called war. It's called warfare.
Yeah.
And it was subsequently just after that, all of a sudden, my medical director got very sick, and within 6 hours he was dead.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use names, but the bottom line is this is warfare. This is warfare upon humanity as a whole. Yeah. And I, so, my heart goes out to families who have lost people. This is called excess mortality, excess death, injury, which is in the millions, I say hundreds of millions worldwide, injuries and deaths as a result of this culling program that's been instigated by Luciferians, bad actors that are in control. And we know they're in control. You just had to watch the opening ceremonies of the Olympics.
Yep.
And you know who's in power.
Yeah. And look up in the skies and you know who's in power. Right. And look at the shelves at Home Depot and Walmart and see that they're selling cancer in a bottle. And we know who's in power. They paid over $11 billion in fines, and yet they still have the products on the shelves. Yeah, it's easy to see that BlackRock is in power. And BlackRock is not only the name, it is the intention. Right. By their deeds, by their fruits, you shall know them. And so, man, thank you so much for coming out so passionately and so courageously to shine a light on this truth.
Well, the thing is, it's interesting because a lot of people are talking about, this nanotechnology and microtechnology, and it's been around, for decades. But you have to find a solution to these pollutions. Yeah. And that's why I was so grateful to meet a company with the perfect name. Human consciousness support. I mean, what a name. And a product called Masterpiece. And the reason I mention that out loud, because it is the solution, and we know this because we've been doing the hard scientific validation of its safety and its efficacy. And I'm happy to provide the paper on this, which is now in peer review, to anyone, because they need to know that there is a solution to the pollution of this synthetic biology that we're being poisoned with, these forever chemicals, this microplastics that we're being exposed to, this multidimensional nanotechnology that we're being exposed to, aluminum chloride, aluminum oxide, phosgene, vilinidine dichloride, the major one, graphene oxide. Graphene as the platform to carry a lot of these pollutants to the body, and it's not. This is the question I would love to hear from Jim. Answer I would love to hear from Jim is because, I see and saw on a day for years, these streams of white crisscrossing the skies up and above, and I'm going, what are they doing above the ranch? I mean, this is just farm ground, What are they doing? And they're chemtrailing. I mean, they're poisoning our food. I mean, I'm an organic farmer, And yet next door are 2 helicopters that are spraying some of the other food that I won't even put on.
Yeah.
I won't put on these pesticides and herbicides, et cetera, et cetera. Natural farming was the key.
Yeah.
And that's what I've tried to do. But they've done everything they can, these bad actors, to shut it down.
Yep. And that's the bad news. The good news is that nature is so powerful that, like, some of our partners, and man, I'm so glad for this connection, because we are partnered with multiple people that are in the soil regeneration business, the soil saving business, and it's all based on using living systems, right? There's no synthetics in this property. I don't use anything other than nature to solve nature's problems. And there we have a strategy, Dr. Young, that I'm really excited to share with you, that is going to change the world. You're already changing the world. We're already changing the world. But when we follow Martin Luther King's advice, those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. And that is by stacking in Bucky Fuller's sentiment. You cannot change things by fighting the existing reality, but creating a new model that makes this current insanity obsolete. Right. So we have got a step-by-step process, which I will share with you by email after this call sometime over the weekend, that will lead to those chemicals, those toxins being taken off the shelf and replaced by living systems that do the exact opposite, that promote life instead of death.
Yeah. Well, we had our own wells. We had 6 wells on the property. We were pulling that, but even that we had to purify because some of the particulates that are now in our groundwater. So we were concerned about even the water.
Yeah.
Not just the soil, but the water is now contaminated.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, I mentioned this. It's contaminated with things like carbon 60, EDTA, methylene blue, which is an industrial dye, is now showing up in our water. It's a poison, and people are using this as an antidote. It's not an antidote. Wow. It doesn't have the proper polarity in order to remove out anything other than harm you. And so I mentioned that, but the bottom line is yes, we are finding graphene in everything. We're finding aluminums in our soil. And not just a little bit, a lot. Over 2,000 pounds per acre of aluminum.
Wow.
In the soil.
Wow.
And so our soils are being poisoned, our water is being poisoned. And so that was the crux of my concern, is what are we going to do about it? Yeah. How can we protect, the people that we love and care about? Yeah. And so we created that opposite polarity to all these poisons, and we're seeing tremendous results, but we wanted to test the efficacy. Yeah. And so that's what we did. And we did it by testing intracellular fluids, because this technology will pass through cell membranes into your brain cells, into your heart cells, into your blood cells. Yeah. And so by testing the intracellular fluids, we're finding 100% transfected humans, transfected, vaccinated, unvaccinated, living in rural areas, living in urban areas, wherever. We're finding that this has been a worldwide program to poison us, And there are antidotes, a broad spectrum antidote to do that. And there's so many tools that we have to be able to help people understand. You just have to take the time to learn how to protect yourself from this indoctrination that has been going on for centuries. For centuries.
Mind control.
Yeah, mind control.
Governmente.
Yeah. So that now exists. And one of your remarks about Matt Hazen, who is the main person that has organized a team in order to be a solution to this. The solution has been studied. We've studied its safety, its effectiveness. It removes graphene. It removes aluminum. It removes lead. It removes mercury. It removes arsenic. It removes formaldehydes. It removes the poisons that we're finding in human blood, human interstitial fluid, human intracellular fluids, and it's been third-party documented.
Yeah. Fantastic.
You don't have to take my word from it. I've published on this.
Yeah.
I know what these poisons are and how lethal they are. Yeah. And we have warned people. Yeah. So we warn you, but not without a solution, which is our greatest important message for today.
Yeah. And otherwise, you just leave people with more anxiety, which leads to a faster death, right? The death of the spirit, the death of the body. So having the solution stacked in is absolutely imperative. So that's awesome.
Well, if you take 20 people who are sick, 19 will die from fear.
Yes. Yep.
And fear is an acronym that stands for false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
The opposite of fear is faith.
Yeah.
Faith is the first attribute in thinking healthy. Yes. Faith, yes. Believe. Faith keeps you present. It doesn't pull you in the past. It doesn't push you towards the future. Faith pulls you within and realizing there is a God in heaven. There is a purpose for us to learn and to grow by our experience, that we might experience the duality of life. Yes. So we know this opposition. Yeah. And now we can choose. We have a choose to choose righteousness or wickedness, darkness or light. Yeah. I choose righteousness. I choose God. Yeah. And that's why there is a zero cost to this knowledge. Yeah. You pay for your time. Yes, you have to take time. You have to make an effort. Yeah. And if you can read, you can read. If you can listen, it's on video. If you want to watch, you can watch. And we're not talking about one or twos. We're talking about thousands of informational pieces. And some of them are a minute. Some of them are 9 hours. Yeah. Some of them are lectures at Harvard University. And some of them are just short, position pieces to literally let people know what we're even talking about in a form that's simple. And that's why I like the PH Miracle books, because I had to have my books edited. I would send in thousands and thousands of pages, and they'd come back and say, well, this is too technical, and they would simplify it. Yeah. The PH Miracle book is written for the masses, and I published that in 2000. And people would say, what's a PH Miracle? Well, pH is a word in chemistry. It means potential of hydrogen, but I changed it. It means perfectly healthy.
Love it.
Okay. Yeah. And then somebody said, well, what's a miracle? What are you talking about? And I said, the miracle is understanding the duality of life, that there's a cause and effect relationship that's not currently understood by the indoctrinated scientists and the indoctrinated doctors out there. But it's understanding the cause and effect relationship, okay, that then gives rise to what we think are miracles, but are nothing other than, how do we deal with war? Well, we organize a group of peaceful people. Yeah. How do we deal with our food supply? Well, we organize farms and co-ops, to be able to grow things. I didn't become a farmer for myself. I became a farmer of food and nutrition and life because I care about my children. I care about my grandchildren. I care about humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
How can I not?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes me, I believe, human.
Yeah. You're just exactly. I'm so amazed by this conversation and how much we are aligned, because we're aligned with what's logical and just and beautiful. And we produce so much extra food. It's not because we need it or want it. It's not even because we want to sell it, although that's an option. But it's because we want to feed our neighbors. And more importantly, we want to inspire and empower our neighbors to feed themselves. And that's why this permaculture model is so awesome. I'm not a farmer. I'm a harvester. I walk outside my door and I've got a basket full of food in 10 minutes.
Yeah. So the saying is, grow what you eat and eat what you grow. And fire your doctor and hire your farmer, or become a farmer, because if you don't learn how to farm, you'll be forced to learn how to farm.
Yeah.
But you have to have the seeds.
Yeah.
And it's people like Jim and Matthew that are providing a platform. Yeah. I mean, what's behind you, Jim? What is that we're looking at? What's all that green stuff?
This is our food forest. 27 months ago, there was nothing here but sand. Florida, sugar sand. Now it's paradise with 250 different species of edible and medicinal plants. There's curries and citruses and moringa and turmeric and ginger, and it's just loaded.
Well, it's interesting you're showing this, because I got a question from someone who lives in the Dominican Republic, and he says, we love avocados.
Yeah.
But they're seasonal. Yeah. I mean, what can we eat?
Right.
We're talking about, a place where you can grow what you eat.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to take it inside, I don't know. Maybe you have to have a, that type of a situation, but you need to learn how to grow what you eat. So I said to them, well, if you're seasonal with avocados, I mean, you can flash freeze it. You can put avocados in the refrigerator, to extend their life. You can slice them up and dehydrate them for snacks later. Yep. And if you can pulverize it or titrate it, which we do, into a powder and put it in super greens or some other products, that contain that. Or even better, you can make avocado oil.
Yeah.
People say, why do you have avocado oil? I said, why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Right? It's God's oil.
Yeah.
It's God's butter.
Yeah.
I said, and it has a shelf life for decades.
Wow.
Decades. So, I mean, can you live on this stuff? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it contains phytochemicals and nutrients that protect you against the acids that cause injury, poisons that cause it protects you. It chelates them. So it could be an avocado tree. It could be a olive tree. I know these are monounsaturated oils, but here again, you can sprout or grow other foods, that can be pressed into oils, and you can store them. If you're not growing them, you can store them.
Yep.
So that's why, phmiracleproducts.com offers avocado oil from sunny California. It's one of the plants. And I know that whole business has been transported to Mexico, unfortunately. And we're finding less and less farming going on in California.
Yeah.
What's that all about? And farmers are being pushed out.
Yep.
Of the business.
Yep.
But you're going to have to take this responsibility of feeding yourself and your family on seriously.
What you just said is so important. The only way we're going to win this war, like Victor Hugo said, there's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. The idea, the light bulb, the enlightenmente, the enlightenment, the ascension of human consciousness, the great awakening, the apocalypse, lifting the veil. It's all the same thing. We need to take personal responsibility, and we need to create local, self-reliant communities. They will thrive, or at least make it, through what's coming. But people who aren't self-reliant and don't know how to do anything, they're going to have a real tough time. Do you agree?
I agree. And so I'm not only storing food for myself, I'm storing food for my friends and family.
Yes.
Those are the crazy Youngs. I mean, that's the guy that eats grass. He's the grass eater. He says drink greens. I said, yeah, it'll save your life if you understand the science from it. And the importance of chlorophyll as a molecule for building human blood. You want me to say that again?
Yes.
Okay. Chlorophyll in green plants is a molecule for building hemoglobin. They're identical, people.
Wow.
And guess what? We are photosynthesis beings. We adsorb and absorb light and convert that into electrical energy. And we've been lied to for years that we run on carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. That's totally false. Yeah. We run on electricity. We run on light energy. Yeah. Our skin is a solar panel that absorbs and absorbs light, which is converted into electrical energy. And guess what converts electrical light energy into electrical energy? You want to take a guess?
Tell me.
Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin.
Wow.
It's the purpose of blood is converting light into electrical energy. They are the factories, and those who know about this, using it from a dark side or dark perspective, are destroying the blood by using nanotechnology and biosensors, human biosensors, to set up what is called W-band, the wireless body area network. It's sucking the life out of the red blood cells, out of these factories. And that's how it's being powered, that technology, which is being transfected into our body. Yes, look to my shoulder. You see that green circle? Yep. That's a polyethylene. That's a polyethylene glycol hydrogel that contains a plate of graphene oxide. It's a biosensor.
Wow.
It's a receiver and transmitter. That's in human blood, folks, and I'm finding these in everyone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, so I just got to ask then, do you think it has something to do with the 5G that's going to trigger and really make this thing go exponential?
I don't think I know.
Yeah, I figured you'd say that because it's so logical. Once we get down the knowing that this is a strategy that is meant to control, depopulate, and kill, then this just makes complete sense.
Yeah, 5G, the whole network of 4G plus and 5G, 6G is all geared towards the wireless body area network to literally link every human, every animal. Gates calls it trillions of cells to the Internet of Things, to the Internet of Bodies, to the Internet of Minds, of brains. And it's real.
Yeah, it is.
Just like in the 60s and 70s, people were smoking grass. And then in the 70s, 80s, Dr. Young said, don't smoke it, drink it.
Yeah.
I mean, you drink it, you build blood. You build blood, you build hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the most important molecule. It is the energy factory that powers our bodies. Red blood cells is the foundational stem cell. Do I need to say that again? It's a non-nucleated. It is the foundational stem cell. You know what red blood cells become?
What?
Skin, hair, bone, muscle. I mean, did Moses know about this? when he said, "For the life of all flesh is the blood." Not in the blood, is the blood.
Wow.
Do you know when a egg is fertilized? You know what appears when a sperm fertilizes an egg? You know what first appears?
A flash
A
of
drop
light?
of a drop of blood. Well, yes,
Oh.
there's a spark of light, yes, but
Yeah.
then appears the red blood.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Every single human body cell, animal cell, is made from blood. And you want to know how to make blood?
How?
I call it the COWS program. It's chapter 5 in the pH Miracle Revised and Updated, COWS. It stands for chlorophyll, oil, water, and salt.
Wow.
Period. Those are the 4 doctors. There's several others: chlorophyll, clay, oil, oxygen, water, salt, sunshine, and sexercise. Those are the 7 doctors we need to incorporate into our life.
Beautiful. I love all of them. Oh man, this is just fantastic.
It's so good, so good. One thing I'm noticing is the amount of 5G towers being placed in and around schools. And from a strategic perspective, that makes you really think of, if all these kids are running around now with graphene inside their bodies and this technology in there, and you hear the plans about utilizing the children as creating the next kind of fear around the population, that makes a lot of sense, because if they get hammered first with this energy and are starting to appear sick, parents obviously will take the fear level a whole lot higher and comply.
Well, all I can say to you parents and to every human out there who's listening, you are not sick. You've been poisoned.
Yep.
It's chemical and radiation. And it is atrocious that these cell towers, ground zero is Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh.
Ground zero. It is a huge experiment. Why? Because it's an international city and people are coming from all over. That is ground zero for this technology.
Wow. That's interesting. They call it Sin City and it's ground zero. It's not an accident that is the case. Yeah. Oh my gosh. One of the questions that comes up, and it's kind of an irrelevant question, but I still am just curious on your perspective of it, is time. And the reason why it's irrelevant is because I'm going to do every single day everything I can to increase life in myself, my family, my land, and our community. Right. So that's why it's irrelevant, because I'm still going to go forward the way I'm going forward. But I'd still be curious about your perspective on the exponential kind of increase of this whole system.
Well, 2 thoughts came to my mind, and that's the match metaphor. It only takes one match lit, to start a forest fire.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing is, if you want to see change, you must be that change.
Yeah.
So, I had many years ago, well, not so many, 2007, I had a chance to present in the Martin Luther King Memorial Cathedral in front of pretty much a completely African American audience. I mean, did I feel uncomfortable? No, I felt love.
Yeah.
I felt community.
Yeah.
I felt privilege.
Yeah.
I felt honor. I felt inspired.
Yeah.
To stand in front of a people that are literally seeking further light and knowledge.
Yeah.
Educated, uneducated, and hopefully not beyond their intelligence.
Yeah.
That's what intelligence means, is not being overeducated beyond your intelligence.
Yeah.
Intelligence means within, so intelligence, knowledge.
Yeah.
You're empowered by intelligence. One thing to know something, it's another thing to be intelligent about that. But there I was. And prior to my speech, Reverend, the dean of that school, and this is Martin Luther King Memorial, is part of the Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. And I felt so much honor and about this presentation. And he said in the introduction that he talked about how this message will change lives and save lives.
Yeah.
Change lives and save lives. It saved his life because he embraced it in the situation of his condition, which was a cancerous condition where you could not get any solution to that. And he wanted to extend the quality and quantity of life, and he chose a natural way. But he said this, that Dr. Robert Oldham Young is the Martin Luther King of the 21st century.
That's beautiful.
And I don't repeat that to boast. I repeat it because I have been persecuted. I have been tarred and feathered. I have been arrested. I have been shadow banned. I have been attacked at every single level. I cannot even imagine, as I speak with you today, that I am alive and well.
Yeah.
I have been poisoned. I have been persecuted, and I am still a subject of lawfare, constantly being harassed by corrupt district attorneys, corrupt courts. For what? Educating? Yes, the new definition of a felony is, if we don't agree with it from our Luciferian perspective, then it is a felony.
Yep.
And this is what's going on. It's called lawfare. But the bottom line is that gratitude inspired me to continue with my work, regardless of the consequences, even to sacrifice my own life to save another. And so that's the perspective, and the message is simple. There is only one sickness and one disease. This was in the 80s. The over-acidification of the blood and then interstitial fluids due to a perverted way of living, eating, and thinking, period. And the solution is to restore the alkaline design of our body fluids. People are writing now, publishing articles on how harmful drinking alkaline water is. I mean, how ridiculous that is. How ridiculous. When alkaline water contains the spark of life. And what is the spark of life? It's the electron. You're drinking electrical energy, which is then converted you're drinking electrons, which is then transported on a matrix of salt. Don't eat salt. It'll raise your blood pressure. I mean, what an indoctrination.
Yeah.
Salt, saline, the sodium ion, is an element that transports electrons to power your body. It's the electrical system. Don't take salt is saying don't take life.
Yeah.
Here, let me give you some anti-life. They're called antibiotics, translated anti-life.
Yep.
Anti-life. So everything is backwards.
Yeah.
Everything you thought was true is actually a lie.
Yep.
It's a lie. It's been perpetuated over and over again to the point that most people believe the lie. Yeah. And that's why in this little published 1-minute commercial on a brain, as if it was a drug, a brain. You need to take a brain. When you start using your brain, and a lot of people don't understand that the primary site of intelligence is in the core of health. It's in the small intestine. It affects the primary two brains. And the beauty of this is when you drink alkaline water, it creates vortexes that literally spin the water into the heart and throw out electrical energy that causes it to pump. It's a vortex. The heart is not a pump. It vortexes. And guess what does that vortexing or creates that pumping? It is the fluids of the blood.
Wow.
And so when we realize that alkaline water will save your life, that is the most important single thing that anybody can do is start drinking. 9.5. How long have I been saying this? For 40 years. Why are you seeing in the store 9.5? Why not 10? Because that came out of my mouth in the 80s and in the 90s and in the turn of the century. And people started buying it. The reason why is because it works.
Yeah.
And the reason it works, it keeps your heart pumping because it delivers electrical energy of the opposite polarity of the poisons that they're using to harm us.
Yeah.
They don't want you drinking alkaline water. So guess what? They're going to talk negatively and they're going to get people to publish against it.
Yeah. Of course.
But it'll save your life.
Yeah.
It'll save your life. Any food that donates electrons will save your life. And that's whole foods.
Yeah.
That's toxic-free foods. Those are, and it can be broccoli. It can be spinach. It can be avocados. It can even be lemons or limes that donate electrons.
Yep.
It's even beyond the S. They're electron donating foods.
Wow.
And I've studied thousands of these. And so when I tell people these are the foods that are alkalizing, these are foods that are acidifying, is not based on its ass. It's based on its electrical potential to donate electrons, which is the spark of life, which is the very thing that our body cells and the anatomical elements that make up our body cells live in.
Man.
Do you understand this? This is what needs to be learned worldwide.
Yeah.
And as long as I have a voice, I will continue to speak truth because people don't understand because they have been mind warped.
Yep.
They have been literally, delivered a false narrative that has maybe a form of godliness. There's, in fact, Antoine Béchamp, there's nothing so false that does not contain an element of truth, and so it is with the germ theory. Germ theory is false.
Yeah.
Yep.
Viral theory is false.
Yeah.
The heart is a pump is a false. The stomach digests food, false. The red blood cell delivers oxygen, partially true, but false. What is the main purpose of the red blood cell? To become other body cells.
Yeah.
Where is blood made? Bone marrow. False. It's made in the crypts of the small intestine. Everything that you've learned, even in chemistry, is false.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. It's all strategic governmente. It's all mind control for one purpose: to control the mind of the slave. And those who falsely believe they are free are the most enslaved.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
amazing. Dr. Young, I've got one quick story for you regarding faith and fear. I decided back about 4 years ago that if I ever had fear about something, and I'm not talking about fear of a rattlesnake. I don't fear rattlesnakes. I'm aware that they could kill me, so I won't pet one, right? So we're talking about a different kind of fear. Fear of anything government. I have let go of all of it and replaced it with faith. For instance, we've built 10 homes here, and we did not ask for permission. And about 5 months ago, I got a call from my partner on the land. I was on the north and he was on the south. He said, there's a guy with a clipboard and a badge here asking about building permits for your lifetime family home. And I had a wave of anxiety go through me, and I took a deep breath. I breathed in spirit, and I walked over to the guy, and I held my camera up, and I walked over and I said, hello, my name is Jim Gale, and I'm recording this conversation so we don't mix up any words here. What's your name? He said, my name's Alexi. I said, how did you get permission, Alexi, to come on our property? Implied consent is not granted. And I was expecting an authoritative response. I was expecting him to say, I have the right to be here, which he doesn't, even according to case law, but he didn't. He said, I'm sorry, the gate was open. I will leave if you want me to. I said, oh, well, wait a minute. Before you do, I'd like to share with you what we are doing. And I would like you, as a representative of the government, to do what we're doing because it's the way. And so I brought him into the food forest and he left 15 minutes later. I explained to him first. I said, what your government will allow us to do is kill everything and poison everything, as represented by all of the projects that your little check marks will approve, all of the developments that are biological death zones. Well, anyway, he left 15 minutes later with tears in his eyes. He said, I will never bother you again. And that's the type of thing. We are going completely outside of government publicly. We do not pay land taxes publicly. I do not pay income taxes publicly, because we are demonstrating that there must be a better way. And then the strategy of service, right? And that's the key. And this is what you've dedicated your life to. We are here to serve ourselves, our families, our friends, and our communities. And by openly serving, if something does happen to me, if I get incarcerated or killed, my message will just go exponential. And that's more important to me than my life by far.
Beautiful. Well, I couldn't agree more so, more wholeheartedly. Yeah, you're doing a beautiful thing down there. Keep up the great work. Yeah.
Well, I invite you to come visit. We have Airbnbs. We're on a private 430-acre lake where we've got the only dock on the lake. We've got a mile-long paved runway right bordering the east where world leaders like yourself will be flying in here or driving in, and we will be demonstrating freedom and being very strategic about how to create awareness, which is the first step in change, and then bring in the influencers and then inspire and empower everybody to be influencers. And that's how we win this war.
And Jim, you're in Florida, correct?
Yeah, I'm 40 minutes from Orlando International.
Well, that's an easy place to get to.
Yes, it is.
Very convenient. Very convenient.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being you, Matthew and Jim, and the platform you're providing, and educating rather than medicating philosophies, educating rather than vaccinating philosophies, to empower people to be able to have the knowledge, the intelligence to be able to take care of themselves, to protect themselves from themselves, but to protect themselves from the chemical poisoning that's going on. Yeah. Just remember, you are not sick. You've been poisoned. The poisons are coming from chemicals in our foods, in our water, in our air, in our nutraceuticals, in our pharmaceuticals, in our personal hygiene. Everyone has been exposed. And the solution to these pollutions have been found. I invite you to investigate and to learn. And I'm happy to give everyone, if they go to my website, drrobertyoung.com, and just give me your email address, I will send you an article. It's fairly lengthy, but it will contain 60 articles with videos and knowledge for free, including these published peer-reviewed papers spoke about, identifying the non-disclosed ingredients, but additional things, viruses and vaccines, and the HIV/AIDS hypothesis that I wrote in the 90s has been peer-reviewed and published. I'm going to give you all of this for free. Why? Because I want to. Why? Because I want to empower you with the knowledge to improve the quality and the quantity of your lives.
Thank you so much. And I think one thing that before you step off here that's really important for parents watching, for them to hear about is, from a high level, if you understand that the sickness business makes money, it's the largest industry in the United States right now and growing, and they want to find customers earlier and earlier. And right alongside of those customers beginning to happen earlier and earlier are a childhood schedule that is being followed very closely by parents because they think they're protecting their kids. And when you understand that the exponential effect of having children get sick and become lifelong customers in this sickness business, and you really start to grasp the extremes at which they're going to ensure you do this for your children, you're literally lining up to get your children poisoned. It's atrocious, the mind control that's happened here. And, something we'll probably be censored for saying here right now. But it's truth. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, my thoughts are education, not medication. My thoughts is that we must be the change we want to see. My thoughts is that you need to begin with you. Just like when you're going on a plane and they say, if we lose pressure, a mask will come down. Do not put that on someone else. Put this on yourself and then others. And so you have to put the mask on. And you got to have a brain to do this. You've got to have knowledge. Knowledge is power. And you have to understand that knowledge is available, and it's available now for you. We want to empower you with the truth, and that truth will protect you. And you don't need to put your trust in me. You need to put your trust in God, because he's the PR guy over me. He's the one directing me. And by your fruits you shall know them. Yeah. And out of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. We have millions of witnesses in over 159 countries. Yeah. The cure for disease has already been found. Yeah. And in fact, if you understand this very simple thought, you are not sick. You have been poisoned. You have been transfected with radiation. Radiation, 5G is a toxin. It's a microwave at 2.4 gigahertz and up, 6G, 30 to 60. It's unsustainable. It is a weapon of mass destruction. Yeah. The cell towers, they suck the life out of anyone that's near them. That's why we're seeing excess mortality more so in the urban areas, the cities. Outside, they're trying to push people out of the urban areas into the cities where they have control. They really don't have the network set up outside of these cities. They call them smart cities. They're not smart at all. They're stupid.
Yeah,
they are stupid cities. And they have the technology is not for good. It's for controlling or eliminating, as the late Henry Kissinger stated, for removing, people or what he called useless eaters, reduce the surplus population of useless eaters. In the Deagle report, they projected that the U.S. population at the end of 2025 would be 100 million. That in itself, or a government agency to publish something like that, could scare you. But with this knowledge of safety and protection and efficacy to be able to eliminate this technology from your home and presence, there are ways to protect yourself. Not just with drops like Masterpiece. You take it twice a day under the tongue, and it eliminates a lot of these poisons that we're talking about. It is so simple. You can even give it to your animals, like under the tongue, 1 drop, 2 drops. It's but in this world, we have to understand that it is a toxic world we live in. Yeah. And so purified water, it has to start there. Alkaline water, and then it has to move to, whole foods, plants, green foods, high in chlorophyll, good oils, and lots of sunshine, which you have in Florida, which we have in California, because that is the source of energy.
Yep,
light force energy.
It sure is. And I want to say thank you for the Masterpiece. Thanks to Matthew, and thank you, Matthew, for making this introduction. Matthew's last name is skipping me. What's his last name? Yeah.
Matthew Hazen. Yeah.
Hazen. Man, I just love this fella, his energy, his passion, his dedication to this. So I want to say thank you, Matthew Hazen. And I got some of the masterpiece. I've been taking it every day. I feel phenomenal. And so thank you, Dr. Robert Young, the modern day Martin Luther King, just for all you've done for your service to humanity. We couldn't thank you enough.
Well, nice meeting you both, and nice talking with you today. And may God bless you and your families, your loved ones, and your associates, and all those that you're influencing. May they all be blessed and protected and be safe.
Thank you so much. My friend. We'll make sure we stay in contact with you. We'll set up another private conversation here. We'd love to collaborate with you and help expand your work and knowledge, and see how we can, just overall make a better impact on the world at large.
That's I'm agreeable to that. As long as I have air in my lungs and the ability to speak, I will continue to speak truth.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah. Have a great day, everybody, and share this message. This is an important one. Let's share it, and let's go to Dr. Young's website. And these products are fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.